Usopp is my favorite Straw Hat and is one of my favorite characters in One Piece. When I was first experiencing the One Piece story and reached the Syrup Village arc in the anime, it didn't rock my world. I mean, I think I enjoyed the Romance Dawn arc better, and in hindsight, looking back at it now, the Syrup Village arc was one of the weakest arc of the East Blue Saga, but boy did Usopp carry that arc for me. I am not one of those people who started liking Usopp after his fight with Luffy in Water 7 or when he burned the world government flag in Enies lobby. I've loved Usopp's character since day one. One standout moment in the Syrup Village arc was when Usopp punches Klahadore, Caius Butler, who was in reality the infamous Captain Kuro, because Kuro was bad-mouthing Usopp's dad. And we get a plethora of great Usopp moments from then on, like the Usopp vs. Chu fight in Arlong Park. We also have the Little Garden arc, which gives Usopp a new purpose in a way with the Giants and Elbaf. And then you've got Usopp in Alabasta being battered by Miss Merry Christmas and number 4, and he still proclaims that Luffy will be the Pirate King, and we have arguably his best moments in the entire story in the Water 7 Enies Lobby saga. Then we continue on to Thriller Bark with his hilarious but still awesome moment of his, which was the fight he has with Perona. And even though from this point on we don't get that many great and epic Usopp moments, Oda still gives him great characterization in my opinion, such as in Sabaody when Usopp asks Rayleigh if the One Piece exists and Luffy cuts him off because he doesn't want to know. Usopp in pre-time skip was handled in a phenomenal way in my opinion, and then we get into the post-time skip. One criticism I see often relayed at Oda is that he has forgotten about the Straw Hats in that they barely get any moments to shine. I personally disagree with this sentiment. Now I agree that since the post-time skip, the story of One Piece focuses more on the world than the characters compared to the pre-time skip, but I don't think this is an issue because in a way that has always been Oda's writing style, and I still don't agree that Oda didn't give the Straw Hats any moments to shine in post-time skip. In fact, I am impressed with how Oda still manages to make the Straw Hats shine even though the world and characters get bigger and bigger. The problem is One Piece is such a huge story and a whole lot of fans consume the story weekly, whether it is watching the anime weekly or reading the manga weekly, that it feels it's been a really long time since things have developed for the Straw Hat. Take Dressrosa for example. Dressrosa was one day for the characters in the story, but for us One Piece fans it was 2 years. So if you're a weekly One Piece consumer, it may feel like a whole lot less may have happened, and Oda has given the Straw Hats lots of moments to shine. But since One Piece is one hell of a gargantuan story, it is very easy to forget the Straw Hats' accomplishments. Take Nami for example. People forget how great Nami was in Punk Hazard. Her going out of her way to save the giant children that were getting experimented on by Caesar Clown, and her motherly nature being highlighted by being juxtaposed to Belmere, or Frankie's great moments in Punk Hazard that I don't see many people mention when he absolutely clobbered Baby 5 in Buffalo with a shoot first, ask questions later attitude. Or another one of my favorite fights in One Piece, which was the Senior Pink and Frankie fight. Now in the One Piece fanbase, you've got people loving the Senior Pink versus Frankie fight, but as it was coming out, I've looked at some comments of videos reviewing those chapters as they were coming out back in the day, and trust me, people didn't love that fight. And I feel like it's the same with Usopp. Usopp has had great moments, one of them being when he rescued Robin and the Tontatas. Even though he lost his memories and his character development, he still manages to pull through. And another one was when he sniped Sugar, the creepy child-like woman who turns people into toys. So Usopp has had great moments in post-time skip, it's just that they are not as frequent as they were in the pre-time skip. But an incident occurred where my belief in Usopp and Oda wavered, and that is Usopp in Elbaf. Since Sanji got his great character moments in Whole Cake Island and Brook also shown in that arc to an extent, there was a belief in the One Piece fanbase that every arc from that point on we are going to have a Straw Hat shine and another Straw Hat shine alongside them to an extent. Just like Sanji and Brook in Whole Cake Island. So when we got to Wano, people expected Zoro to get massive character moments since Wano is the island of samurais and Zoro is a de facto samurai himself. So fans believed Zoro will get moments as Sanji did in Whole Cake Island. Also people thought Chopper would get his moments as Brook did because Kaido's crew were Zoan themed and Chopper is a Zoan Devil Fruit user, so he would also get his moments, like Brook did in Whole Cake. For those of you who don't remember Brook's achievement in Whole Cake, he got Big Mom's road poneglyph copies and he also shattered Mother Caramel's picture during Big Mom's tea party. Zoro and Chopper did have great moments in those arcs with Zoro defeating King in an epic fashion and Chopper helping people who were infected with Queen's Ice Oni plague. But Zoro's and Chopper's achievements were nowhere near as deep and epic as Sanji's and Brook's and Whole Cake, so I understand the gripes people have with the Straw Hats not shining in post timeskip, and then we get into Egghead, and in Egghead people expected Frankie to have great character moments, but again it didn't happen. In fact, people argue that Frankie has had better character moments in Elbaf compared to Egghead, so again the argument that the Straw Hats not doing anything persisted. But the time to put that argument to bed finally came for Oda, because Elbaf was just on the horizon, and Oda was finally going to deliver the Usopp greatness that has been fabled hundreds of chapters ago in Little Garden. There were theories like Usopp getting Conqueror's Haki, and when we knew Shanks' involvement in Elbaf, people theorized Usopp meeting his dad Yasopp in Elbaf and us getting a great moment for Usopp through that, but the reality couldn't be more different. We get into the Elbaf arc and the Usopp greatness that fans were hoping for is nowhere in sight. And I see a lot of criticism thrown at Oda saying he forgot about Usopp. I don't believe Oda has forgotten about Usopp and his relationship with Elbaf, because we see in numerous occasions Usopp and Luffy stating they couldn't believe that they are in Elbaf. And also Usopp getting upset at the damage the Holy Knights caused and him passionately speaking about the giants and defending them. So Oda hasn't forgotten the connection Usopp has with Elbaf. So what gives? Why aren't we seeing Usopp greatness in Elbaf? And I have some big worries. My worry is that maybe us fans have misconstrued Oda's intention for Usopp in that he was just meant to be a fanboy of Elbaf and nothing more. If that's the case, I will be bummed out massively, but I have massive faith in Oda that that is not the case. I think the reason people are so hard on Oda for not making Usopp shine here in Elbaf is because they believe if Usopp doesn't get his moment now in Elbaf, that he will never get to shine in the upcoming arcs. But to that I say, whoever saw Brook getting his moments in Elbaf? Also, whoever saw Sanjin getting a massive arc in Whole Cake Island, especially the Brook one, because I recently was watching a YouTube reaction of One Piece and it was Thriller Bark and Brook was formally introducing himself to the Straw Hats and he says he was the leader of a certain kingdom's assault convoy, and I thought that was a detail Oda forgot to expand upon until we got the Brook flashback in Elbaf. So if Oda could deliver on Brook with Yasopp waiting in the wings, there is a lot Oda could do with that to give Usopp a great moment. Also, I haven't forgotten Luffy's comments during the start of the Elbaf arc in the Lego house when Usopp was struggling. In a disappointed tone during the start of Elbaf arc in the Lego house, Luffy in a disappointed tone tells Usopp he is supposed to be better than that. I don't think Oda just put that line in there for nothing. I think we will see Usopp shine in a massive way. It may not be in Elbaf, but I believe Usopp's time will come, because like I said before, there are multiple avenues for Usopp to shine, such as him picking up Mjolnir or him gaining Conqueror's Haki. In what context is he going to do that? I don't know. Also, there is the Usopp thing where Usopp is yet to meet him. I expect a great moment from Usopp's and Usopp's interaction. Also, again, Luffy's comments to Usopp in the beginning of the arc where he says he's supposed to be stronger, Oda consciously put that in there. So the fact that Oda expanded upon the one line Brook had in Thriller Bark when he formally introduced himself by saying he used to be the leader of a certain kingdom's assault convoy, and we get to see that in Brook's flashback that Oda gave us in Elbaf, I believe Usopp is going to get a much bigger moment than Brook, because there is more foreshadowing in build up for Usopp than there ever was for Brook. So this might be copium and I'm just being delusional, but I really believe Usopp still will get a massive moment. It just may not be an Elbaf like we all thought it would. Maybe the next arc is Lodestar and that is where Usopp will get his moment, or maybe it is in the final gigantic war arc. It is inevitable that Usopp will have his moment, and when it does, I will be there. If you've made it this far into the video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and with that said, see you guys in the next one.